The Monday Morning Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Esther of IPA Group, bringing premier online promotion to your business.
And Melanie of Stomp Social Media Training, who empowers business owners to manage social media and marketing for themselves.
And welcome back to another episode of the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast. Today we're joined by Fifi Mason, personal brand and visibility coach, and we're talking about authentic personal branding. Welcome, Fifi.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. So personal branding is quite a broad spectre of things. So we could be talking about like what you write, what you say, what you put on, what you present to the world. Right, Melanie's looking confused for some reason. Do you not think this is broad spectre?
Well, I would have gone with spectrum personally, but spectre sounds terrifying.
Okay, but broad spectrum. I have been corrected by the grammar police here. So where would we get started with our personal branding, Fifi?
Oh, well, it is very broad, I suppose. Like, what is the term? What does it mean? And how do you get started? Yeah, there's a lot there. Well, personal branding really is about how you are being perceived in life, but in general, it's more online, more of your online perception. And there's a really great quote, and I'm going to butcher this, by Jeff Bezos. And he says something like, your personal brand or your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
So that kind of does summarize it a lot, and that it's about how you are perceived, but how people connect with you, relate to you, remember you, and what you're known for. And that's what I talk about more than anything. And it's taking control of that, taking control of how you're being perceived, but in a natural way. So you're not faking it, you're not forcing it, you're not just pretending, faking it. You're being yourself, you're being authentic. And it's just really, taking control of that so that you're showing up in alignment with your own values, with who you are, with what you want to be known for. So hopefully that answers that question.
So being monumentally memorable, try saying that fast, is what you're aiming for. So one thing you mentioned to us before we started recording is that you really like to support people who are normally a little bit quieter than usual, more introverted. Mm-hmm. So why would they find it any more harder than anybody else? I mean, I'm sure they know that that's what branding involves, but why would they find it harder?
Yeah, so when you're showing up as yourself and promoting your own business, and it's you are the service provider. Maybe you're a coach, you're a consultant, or a freelancer of some kind, and you have to be the face of the business. That can be quite a challenge for those who are more introverted, inward focused, less likely to be the ones in the spotlight. It really becomes a bit more of a challenge for the quieter types. And I completely relate to this because it's my journey. It was my challenge when I started out as a freelancer. I was a brand and website designer for the first year of my business, and I found myself hiding. I found myself not wanting to put any of my kind of personality into it. I had a business name. I just had this one photograph that I was happy with, that I used everywhere. And to be honest, it probably didn't even look much like me either. It was really kind of the best picture I could ever find of myself. And I was not putting any of my personality into my content, and it was all very generic and bland. And that became a problem for me because I started attracting the wrong kinds of clients, the clients that just didn't value my expertise, even though I'd worked in industry. They didn't respect my opinions, what I could bring to the table. They were demanding a lot more from me. There was personality clashes. There was so much going on that I mean, even some of my clients, they left me in tears. So I would get off a call with them and I just burst out into tears because I was like, why am I having to work with this kind of person? And it became clear it was because I was not attracting the right people, the people I actually would like to work with. And so I went on this self-discovery journey, and it turned out to be more of developing my personal brand, learning more about what it means to be more visible, show more of my personality. And this became what I fell in love with, that whole process of figuring out who I am, what I'm all about, how I'm going to communicate that to the world, and really just get to a point where I was attracting those clients that bring me joy and light me up every day. And so that became the journey I went on. And then as time developed, it became clear that it was because of my quiet, introverted nature that a lot of those struggles, that a lot of things happened, and I had those struggles. And so I thought, I fall in love with this process, and I know who really needs help in this the most. People like me. I'm going to help people like me do this, to develop a strong personal brand that aligns with who they are, what they're all about. And yes, so I feel that those who are quieter, more introverted, are the ones that might struggle a bit more with this. And I found they self-silence and they hold back because of certain fears as well. So we could probably get into that a little bit.
So a lot of this would be also a bit of confidence coaching on top of everything else, I assume. I mean, I probably don't appear as a very introverted person, and in fairness, I'm not these days. But when I first started my business, I had a huge amount of imposter syndrome and a terrible amount of fear. And, I hid behind my brand for the first year. So I think it's not just the more introverted people. I think everybody feels that when they first start out, but it's just worse for people who start off at an introverted point. So do you feel there's kind of like a psychology or a mindfulness that you're doing as well?
Well, yeah, so this ties into self-silencing, and I do believe that it's not just the quieter of our society that do struggle with this. Many people will struggle with self-silencing. And this is holding back your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions, your experiences, your personality even, for fear of perceived consequences. And sometimes it's real consequences, but most of the time it's perceived consequences, that we think something bad is going to happen. And there are actually 5 reasons that I've kind of identified as the most likely reasons that people self-silence. We could go through them today if we wanted to, but imposter syndrome is one of those, or kind of ties into one of those. It's more fairness fallacy as well, which I could talk about. But really, yeah, it's a mindset, it's a confidence, but also it's these fears and doubts in ourselves, and that is a real struggle, a big struggle for a lot of people when they start out, and as they move through their business at different stages, they're going to hit different obstacles. Yeah.
And do you find that this quiet silencing or self-silencing, it happens more with one gender than the other? Like, are women more susceptible to this, or more prone to be introverted and stepping back and letting their male counterparts have the stage light and the limelight and be front and center and getting all the clients, and they're just happy to take in some of the the whatever's left, or do you find it's, more balanced than we might think?
That is a great question. I haven't done enough research to know for sure, but from observations, I do think there is a lot of females and women who struggle with this, but equally there are men that struggle with it too. So I think it more comes down to if there was a female kind of perception on this, it would be more that we are more agreeable as it's just how we are for some reason. So so the males maybe are a bit more assertive potentially, but that's still a generalization. And I think there's no kind of observation to be sure that there is anything to do with gender, sex, or anything. So I think it's individual. It's very much something that most people are probably going to be challenged with at some stage. I think even if you don't at the beginning stages of your business, if you was to get down the line and you have a lot to lose, for instance, that's when something could come up. It's more of I'm going to hold back from saying that because maybe I'll get cancelled. And there's different levels, different stages of where self-silencing and self-censoring, if you want to call it that as well, is a problem. So yeah.
Interesting.
I think some of the issue is, certainly was for me my first year or so, is I wasn't sure exactly who my customer was. And I would agree to do stuff for people that I hadn't necessarily thought out, or because I wanted the business. I wanted to look helpful and resourceful and useful. And I was still doing stuff within my remit. I wasn't sort of painting houses or anything like that. But I kind of said yes to a lot more things when I first started, because I didn't want to look like I didn't know stuff or couldn't do stuff or wasn't prepared to try. And now I've kind of reached a point where if I don't want to do it, I won't. But I don't know if that's down to confidence or just I've just kind of reminded myself I do work for myself. I can say no.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because it was like that for me. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, they'll take whatever they can get. And that ends up being maybe the wrong kinds of people. Yeah. And this comes down to part of taking control of your personal brand, taking control of how you perceive who you want to work with, putting that out there in the world, knowing your niche, your audience, and so that they become the people that come to you. They are the ones that are attracted to you. So what I kind of describe it as is a lack or a need of these three things. So these are the three B's: belief, balance, and belonging. And so belief is all about figuring out your values and your boundaries and what you stand for, and your principles, understanding what you're all about. And then you need the balance, which is around being sure that you're working within your core capabilities, that you are working to your strengths, working to doing the things that you enjoy the most and you're passionate about, and making sure there's a balance there. And also considering what your capacity is and your energy is. And then there is belonging, which is what you kind of alluded to there, where you need to find who your people are. You need to find your place and understand your purpose as well, so that you're doing all the right things in your business. And when you have belief, balance, and belonging, once you have these three things, everything becomes a lot easier. It's easier to make those decisions. It's easier to say, this person doesn't align with my personal brand, so I'm not going to take them on, rather than it being more of a decision of should I or shouldn't I. You just know you have these rules, which is what I was going to talk about today, impact rules, how I help my clients create these rules from this.
Interesting. Just before we get on to the impact rules, I just wanted to circle back because you said that whenever people are coming up through and they're growing, or their business is growing and they're reaching different stages of life and of business, then obviously some of these things can change. So some of their belief systems can be changed or challenged along the way in their life. They may have been brought up with one belief system on this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do, and then as they get older they're like start to question everything, and then as older women we sort of go, did we really get told all that? And it all just goes throwing out the window. Balance as well, work-life balance, kids, family, older parents, all these sorts of things, so that can change as time goes on. How do people then change their narrative without, like you say, getting cancelled and people going, hey, but 5 years ago you didn't say that, you said the opposite of what you're now saying? Because people do have a long memory and the internet remembers everything. So how do people get around that when they are growing, when they are changing, when they're adapting to life in general, and they go through something maybe traumatic and go, hang on, I'm going to reassess everything. I'm going to refigure everything out. And actually, instead of believing that, or instead of saying that, I'm now saying this. How do they get around that? Can it be a short, sharp change, or does it have to be gradual and sort of changing a couple of words here and there so people don't really notice by the time it gets to
That is a wonderful, wonderful question. And it's something I'm going through right now, to be honest, because and I'll explain this. So over the last few years, I've had a bit of an awakening around freedom of speech, and a lot of things going on in society. And I want to talk more about this. And I haven't really ever been political, if you would say it's political. But I want to make this shift into being a little bit more outspoken around certain things that I think are important. And so what I'm doing is, and yet you could do this as a gradual thing. You could do this as I'm just going to do it. so not even really think it or overthink it. But what I'm going to do is do a reintroduction of myself. So it's going to be maybe an open letter or just a post that I put out there into the world that says, this is important to me. And if it was something that someone had changed their opinion on from the past, maybe they had some kind of opinion and they've changed it. Maybe they would just own up to that and be honest and be, this is the journey I've been on. This is how I've come to this realization now. I'm going to explain why I'm doing this. And that's what this kind of reintroduction would be. It would be something that just explains what your point of view and is truthful and honest, and just being someone who is open to change even those opinions as well, and just say, this is where I'm at, this is the journey I've been on, and I'm open to shifting these perspectives in the future if new things come to light, but this is what is important to me right now. These are my values, these are things I'm going to stand for, and just be open and honest and authentic. That's what I would say to that.
Brilliant. So you mentioned there the impact rules. What are those impact rules and how can people learn more about them?
Yes, so impact rules is based off those 3 B's, and this is the program that I work with my clients on, helping them to create their own rules for how they show up in the world. And it's really firstly starting to look at the belief side of things. what their values are, what they stand for, and creating principle rules around those. So for me, it's speak up for what you believe in, even if it goes against popular opinion. So that's something that is one of my rules. It's a rule I've put in place that I'm going to live by, at least now for the foreseeable future, because it's something that is one of my values. And it's just really, digging into what you stand for, what you're all about, how you want to show up and be seen within your principal rules, and creating those rules for it. And then you have power rules, which is how you create the balance. And one of my favorite, I can give you an example which makes it easier to explain, is think in frameworks. And so you might have noticed I've got a few frameworks I've already mentioned, the 3Bs, and then I've got impact rules. So this is my approach to communicating, to living in my core capability, because I love frameworks, and I'm a very visual thinker, and I have all of these frameworks that I create. This is me living in my power. So thinking frameworks is one of my rules. And another example of a power rule would be to do the things today that tomorrow you will thank you for. And that's just something that I think I will always keep as a rule for myself. It helps me in everything I do, so that I'm always preparing
Stops procrastination.
For sure. Yeah.
Unless we're talking here about doing lots of leg exercises at the gym, then tomorrow you will not thank you for those. Maybe in about a week
true.
or a year, but not tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow you will probably be swearing at you, but at least next week you will be thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of having those power rules, those rules that help you make the right decisions. They help you work within your own core capabilities, your zone of genius, if you will, and they just help you to stay on track. And then the final one is purpose rules, and this comes from belonging, the lack of belonging, or the need of belonging. So it helps you to really get clear on who you help, your place, your people, and your purpose. And also, what is interesting in all of these is how your approach to working with clients becomes apparent. So one of my purpose rules is every experience is an opportunity to inspire. Now that's my purpose, but also it's a purpose every day that I can use to observe the different things going on in the world, and then just create an inspirational kind of way of expressing that. So pieces of content, a social media post, for instance. So every experience could become an opportunity to inspire with a piece of content. So it's my approach as well to how I do my business. It's my purpose because I want to inspire people, and through my own experiences, being authentic. But it also becomes an impact statement that I can actually say to my clients, every experience is an opportunity to inspire. So these rules also become the rules that I share with my clients as my methodology, as my approach. So it really encapsulates so much to come up with these rules, principle rules, power rules, and purpose rules, and helps you with finding and discovering what you're all about, and really expressing that and communicating that in a way, and embody your message and embody your methodology every day. So that is the whole concept of impact rules.
I've got to ask, what age range is your largest customers?
Oh, interesting one. I don't think there is a specific age range.
Oh, so you don't have an ideal audience?
But I don't think demographics is the same as having an ideal audience. So demographics doesn't impact things. It's not to do with age, it's not to do with gender, it's all to do with who they are, what stage they're at, what they want to achieve. So I work with quiet coaches, life coaches, and impact makers, those people that want to make a difference, make a change in the world, want to inspire and uplift and educate and help other people. So that's my ideal audience, that's my people. Yeah.
So what about older people? Would they be harder to help open up, get out of bad ways of doing things? Because one thing that you seem to illustrate a lot in what you've been saying is control. And people who feel the fear more feel the fear that they're losing control more. And, you know, as I was listening, I was actually starting to write stuff down. I don't know if you noticed. There was a bit of like feeling that fear, feeling that, because it's all very personal when you're running your own business. It's exactly the same for me. And how I think most people feel is like, oh God, if they have a complaint now, it's I can't give it to the boss. I am the boss. And so there's this fear that we all have, and you were referring to belonging, which is straight off Maslow's hierarchy of needs, straight off it. And it takes a while for you to find your tribe. It took me 4 years to find my tribe, and even longer to secure it. So I think younger people may be able to embrace change faster, whereas older people, not all of them, of course, but older people have to get out of bad habits and serious long-term self-doubt and serious long self-hatred to feel that they're capable of these things. Hence why I was asking about the age ranges, and would you treat your 20-year-old consultants, well, your 25-year-old consultants, to completely different to your 55-year-old consultants?
No, absolutely would not. I think it comes down to the actual problem they have. It's nothing to do with age, it's where they're at. This, because no matter what age you are, you could be at a different stage. You can be at the same stage even. Someone who started at their 30s in a business and someone who started in their 50s in a business, they're going to be at the same stage.
But what if you're 55 and you've been doing it for 30 years and you still have that self-loathing and self-hatred and complete lack of control?
I think it's it really, it comes down to the reason why,
right,
and getting clear on that. And the first part of all of this, when I talk about the different stages, so I have 3 stages of getting visible, of becoming known, and it starts with the show up stage, which is when you're stuck in your head. It's also what I call the me stage. You're stuck in your head and you need to get to the message stage, which is when you start to refine your message and get clear on it, to then become the messenger, which is the final stage.
I like that. You do like 3s, don't you?
I do.
Number,
and they all have to have
the
letters, the same letters to start with as well. So MMM. I love it.
Oh, we like MMM.
We like MMM. Monday morning marketing.
Definitely.
Fifi, it has been an absolute pleasure. How can people get in touch with you, learn more, hire you? What's the stages that are there 3 processes as well for finding you and clicking through on your website?
There isn't. Cool. There's just one link. So
oh, come on, Fifi. You're letting down your personal branding.
Well, and making it easy, gotta make it easy, haven't you? So just go to fifimason.com/connect and you will find me there. But I do have 3 different resources.
Of course you do.
I do have a book as well, which is on Amazon. So the resource that would help anyone who's listening today is the Authentic Self Personal Brand Assessment. And it really just helps you go through those 3 B's, the belief, balance, and belonging, and assess yourself where you're at and where you need to kind of focus a bit more. And then I have some fun quizzes as well to help you figure out where, if you're self-silencing and what reason why, and also the introvert visibility style quiz to figure out what your visibility style is. So some helpful resources, and my book is on Amazon, Stop Self-Silencing, which is also covers a lot of the mindset side of things that we started to discuss today.
This has been so fascinating, hasn't it? I've been very, very compelling listening. So thank you so much for your time today, Fifi.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And I think we'll sign off for now, but we will be back very soon with another podcast.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Deep, Esther.
That was good. I like the 3s.
Oh, good.
The 3s are good. They're easy to remember.
Frameworks is my thing. So
it just gets you thinking. There's just so many people just think it's just let's start up our business and we just got to build up some self-confidence, but there's a hell of a lot going on behind in the background, isn't there? And you have to try and draw it out of people, don't you, Fifi?
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I love to do. It's my favorite thing. Yeah.